That craving for approval is a quiet prison you build for yourself. From the moment you check your phone for likes to the weight you give a coworker's casual comment, you are handing over your sense of worth to people and forces you cannot control. This relentless hunt for validation traps you in a cycle of anxiety and deep dissatisfaction, always leaving you hungry for the next hit of external approval. But there is a way out, a philosophy tested for thousands of years that offers profound freedom. This is a journey through 25 Stoic truths, ancient wisdom with explosive relevance for your life today. By the end, you will possess a mental toolkit to dismantle your need for external validation and build an unshakable sense of self-worth from within. We will uncover how Roman emperors found peace amidst endless praise and blame, and how you can do the same in a world of social media and constant judgment. What is the one piece of outside approval you secretly worry about living without? That quiet prison begins to crumble with a single, liberating idea. Your worth is not a prize others grant you, it is a foundation you build yourself. This is the first and perhaps most profound Stoic truth. Consider Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men to ever live. As Roman emperor, he was surrounded by constant flattery and vicious criticism. Yet in his private writings, now known as meditations, he relentlessly reminded himself not to be lifted by the applause or crushed by the insults. He understood that his value as a man resided not in the chants of the crowd, but in the quality of his own character, in his integrity and his commitment to duty. His status as emperor was external, but his virtue was entirely his own. This leads directly to the Stoic tool that makes this possible, the dichotomy of control. It is a simple but life-changing practice of sorting every single thing in your life into two piles. In one pile, you place everything that is within your power. Your opinions, your judgments, your desires, your actions, this is your character. In the other pile, you place everything that is not within your power. Your reputation, your wealth, your health, and most importantly, what other people think and say about you. The entire goal of Stoic practice is to invest all of your energy exclusively into the first pile, while accepting the second pile with calm indifference. When you truly internalize this, the need for validation loses its power over you. How does this look in your own life? Imagine you pour your heart into a project at work and present it to your team, only to receive harsh, perhaps even unfair, criticism. The old validation seeking you would feel a sting of rejection. Your mind would race, obsessing over their words, questioning your own competence, and desperately wanting to explain yourself to win back their approval. But the Stoic response is different. You pause and apply the dichotomy of control. Can you control their reaction? No, that belongs in the second pile, the realm of things outside your command. Can you control your own effort, your preparation, and your willingness to learn from any valid points within their feedback? Absolutely, that is your pile. Your worth was never on the line in their comments. It remains secure in the knowledge that you acted with diligence and integrity. Your job was to do your best work, not to control their reception of it. This reframe is not about suppressing emotion, but about shifting your focus from an unchangeable external event to your own empowered internal response. Your value becomes untouchable not because everyone approves of you, but because you have anchored it to something only you can govern. This relentless focus on what you can control reveals a second powerful truth. Your reputation is not your character, and confusing the two is a source of endless suffering. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues as the true measure of a person's worth: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These are the only things that are genuinely good because they are entirely within your power to cultivate. Your reputation, by stark contrast, is a ghost. It is a collection of other people's opinions, perceptions, and gossip, a thing you can influence but never command. It is fickle, easily manipulated, and often completely divorced from who you truly are. To chase it is to chase a shadow, guaranteeing you will never catch it. Look at the life of Epictetus. He was born into slavery, his body legally owned by another person. In the eyes of Roman society, he had no reputation to speak of, no social standing whatsoever. Yet he devoted his life to building his character, to mastering his own thoughts and actions within the confines of his circumstance. He focused entirely on what was his judgments, his desires, his reactions. He cultivated profound wisdom and unwavering integrity, and in a beautiful twist of fate, his reputation did not come from chasing status. It emerged as a natural consequence of his profound character. He became one of the most revered teachers of his age, his words recorded by his student Arrian, and now read millions of times over 2,000 years later. The world will attach labels to you, some flattering, some cruel. The Stoic asks a simple, piercing question: are those labels true? If they are true, there is no need to be angry. If they are false, they are irrelevant, mere noise from a world you cannot control. To make this real, try a simple mental exercise at the end of each day. Do not lie in bed replaying what your boss said about your presentation or counting the likes on your latest post. Instead, ask yourself a different set of questions. Did I act with integrity today? Was I fair in my dealings with others? Did I face a difficult situation with courage? Did I exercise wisdom in my choices? This nightly audit shifts your entire focus from the external theater of reputation to the internal stage of character. The judgment that matters is not the one shouted by the crowd, but the quiet verdict you deliver to yourself in the silence of your own mind. When that verdict is one of self-respect, the need for public validation simply fades. This understanding of character versus reputation points toward an even deeper Stoic liberation. External things are, in the final analysis, indifferent. This is a radical and often misunderstood idea. To a Stoic, things like wealth, health, fame, and even our social standing are classified as indifferent. They are not inherently good or bad. What gives them any value at all is not their possession, but how we use them. A large sum of money is indifferent. Using it with justice and wisdom to help your family and community, that is a good act. Using it to cause harm, that is a bad act. The money itself is just a tool, and its moral weight comes entirely from the virtue or lack of virtue in the person wielding it. This completely redefines the game. We spend so much of our lives chasing these indifferent things, believing they are the source of our happiness and worth. We seek validation through a promotion, a bigger house, or a certain number of followers, mistaking these external tokens for the real prize. But the Stoics call this a fundamental error. These things do not contribute to our eudaimonia, our deep and lasting human flourishing. That comes only from one source, the excellence of our own character. Think of it like a play. The external circumstances of your life, your wealth, your health, your job title, even what people say about you, these are merely the props you find on stage. They are handed to you. Some actors get a golden crown and a throne, others get a tattered cloak and a walking stick. The props themselves are irrelevant to the quality of the performance. A great actor can deliver a breathtaking performance with the simplest of props, while a poor actor will be unconvincing even with the most lavish set. Your virtue is the script you must follow. Your character is the performance you give. Your goal is not to complain about your props or to envy another actor's crown. Your sole purpose is to play your part, whatever it may be, with as much wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control as you can muster. When you internalize this, the desperate need for validation tied to material success or social standing simply evaporates. You are no longer trying to collect the best props to prove your worth to the audience. You are focused on the integrity of your own performance, an endeavor that is entirely and gloriously within your control. The applause or the silence from the crowd becomes just another part of the scenery, another indifferent sound that has no power to alter the truth of your character. There is a strange and powerful freedom in deliberately thinking about what you fear losing the most. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It is not an exercise in pessimism, but a vaccination against the shock of misfortune. By regularly and calmly imagining the loss of the things you cling to for validation, you inoculate your mind against the paralyzing fear of their absence. What if you woke up tomorrow and your professional reputation was in ruins? What if the social approval you work so hard to maintain simply vanished? This practice asks you to sit with that thought, not with anxiety, but with a quiet, analytical mind. You systematically walk through the scenario not to despair, but to discover a profound truth. You would still be here. Your core capacity for reason, your ability to choose virtue, your fundamental self would remain completely intact. The external sources of validation are like decorations in a room. The premeditation of evils is the process of realizing that the room itself is solid and will still stand, even if every single decoration was stripped away. This is how you build emotional resilience. You are training your mind to see the loss of praise or status not as a catastrophe, but as a change in the indifferent scenery of your life. Let us try a brief version of this right now. Close your eyes for a moment if you are in a place where you can. Now bring to mind something whose approval you quietly crave. It might be the respect of a particular colleague, the admiration of your online followers, or the praise of a family member. Now imagine it is gone. That person is openly critical of you. Your social media engagement has plummeted. The praise you expected has turned to silence. Sit with that feeling for a breath. Notice the initial sting, the tightening in your chest. Now look past it. Ask yourself, what can I still do? I can still act with integrity. I can still pursue wisdom. I can still be kind to the person next to me. My ability to choose courage in the face of this disappointment is entirely my own. This is not about wanting these losses to happen. It is about severing the belief that your worth depends on them not happening. When you do this daily, even for a minute, you weaken the chains of validation. You stop seeing the approval of others as a necessity for your survival and start seeing it for what it is, a pleasant addition when it comes, but never the foundation of the house you live in. This radical acceptance of life's indifference finds its ultimate expression in a single, powerful phrase, Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. It is a call to not merely endure what happens to you, but to embrace it, to welcome every event, even criticism and rejection, as if you had chosen it yourself for your own benefit. The philosopher Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by the Stoics, later captured this same spirit when he wrote that his formula for human greatness is Amor Fati, the desire for nothing to be different, not in the future, not in the past, not for all eternity. This is the final liberation from seeking validation, because when you love your fate, a negative review or a public failure is no longer a verdict on your worth. It becomes raw material, fuel for your own transformation. Think of the author J.K. Rowling. Before the world knew her name, she was a single mother living on state benefits, and her manuscript for Harry Potter was rejected by 12 different publishing houses. Each of those rejection letters was a potential blow to her validation, a reason to quit and believe the world saw no value in her work, but she embodied Amor Fati. She did not see those rejections as proof of her failure, but as a necessary part of the journey. She used the feedback, the silence, the struggle as the fire that hardened her resolve. She loved that difficult fate because it was hers, and it forged the resilience that allowed her to succeed beyond anyone's imagination. Her story is not unique. Look at any great innovator or artist, from Thomas Edison to Vincent van Gogh. They faced public ridicule and endless setbacks. The Stoic perspective asks you to reframe your own smaller-scale rejections in the same light. That critical comment from your manager is not an attack, it is information. That project that did not get the recognition you hoped for is not a waste, it is a lesson carved into your experience. When you practice Amor Fati, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and you start asking, "What is this preparing me for? How can this specific disappointment strengthen my character?" The universe is not handing you a report card on your value, it is handing you a chisel and a block of marble. The criticism, the lack of recognition, the outright failure, these are the strikes of the hammer that shape you into a more resilient, more wise, and ultimately more capable human being. Your fate, in all its messy, unpredictable glory, becomes your greatest teacher, and to love it is to enroll in the most demanding and rewarding school of all. Loving your fate means you stop seeing the world as your critic and start seeing it as your training ground. This naturally leads to a critical question. If you are no longer seeking validation from everyone, then whose opinion, if anyone's, actually holds weight? The Stoics had a razor-sharp answer: the opinion of the fool is unimportant. This is not a license for arrogance, but a call for profound discernment. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to pay no mind to the chatter of the ignorant, while Seneca wrote extensively about carefully choosing the people you allow to judge you. He argued that we should value the censure of good men but laugh at the disapproval of the bad. This is about being rational, not rude. Think about it this way: if you were a world-class chef, would you let a random passerby who only eats fast food trash your meticulously crafted 5-course meal and walk away doubting your skills? Their opinion is not just negative, it is irrelevant because it comes from a place of complete ignorance about the very subject they are judging. Their validation or lack thereof carries zero information about the quality of your work. Now apply that exact same logic to your own life. In the digital arena, the anonymous troll who leaves a venomous comment on your post, do they possess wisdom, integrity, or any real understanding of you? Their opinion is the philosophical equivalent of a bad restaurant review from someone with no palate. It is noise, not data. In the workplace, the chronically negative coworker who finds fault with every new idea, is their judgment rooted in a desire for the team's success, or in their own insecurity and resistance to change? When you start to apply this filter, the world of opinions begins to sort itself into two clear categories. On one side, you have the judgments of people you respect, individuals who demonstrate wisdom, virtue, and good character themselves. Their feedback, even when critical, is worth your attention because it comes from a place of knowledge and good intent. It is a tool for improvement. On the other side is everything else: the casual criticisms, the gossip, the praise from flatterers, and the attacks from the malicious. These are all just weather, external conditions that you observe without letting them dictate your inner climate. This practice requires honest assessment. Make a short mental list of the people in your life whose opinions you genuinely respect. How many of them are there? Now compare that to the mental energy you spend worrying about the opinions of people who did not make that list. The goal is to gradually transfer your concern from the large, noisy crowd to the small, quiet circle of the virtuous. Their validation is not a target to be hunted, but a potential byproduct of you living well. And when it comes, it feels not like a life raft, but like a quiet nod from one traveler to another on the same difficult road. This small, virtuous circle of advisors points toward a far grander community you already belong to. Stoicism introduces the powerful concept of cosmopolitanism, the idea that you are first and foremost a citizen of the entire cosmos. This is not about travel or passports, but about a radical shift in identity. The ancient Stoics saw the universe as a single, vast, and rational city, a cosmopolis where every human being is a fellow citizen, connected by our shared capacity for reason. When you internalize this, the need for validation from your office, your social media followers, or even your own family begins to feel incredibly small. Why would you anxiously seek the approval of one neighborhood when you are a citizen of the entire world? your sense of belonging expands from a tiny pond to a boundless ocean. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this, writing that what does not benefit the hive does not benefit the bee. Your local community is part of the larger human hive, and your worth is measured by your contribution to the whole, not by the fleeting cheers of a few. This perspective actively shrinks social anxiety. That nervous feeling before a presentation, the dread of saying the wrong thing at a party, it all stems from an overinflation of a single moment in a single room. But when you see yourself as a citizen of the cosmos, that room is just one of millions. The people in it are your fellow citizens, not your judges. Your purpose shifts from a desperate need to be liked by them to a calm intention to interact with them justly and kindly. This reframe is profoundly liberating. It transforms your social interactions from a performance for a critic into a collaboration with a teammate. You are no longer an actor on a stage praying for applause. You are a citizen in the global city, focused on your duty. And what is that duty? The Stoics were clear: to live according to nature, which for a rational being means to live with virtue and to act for the common good. This is the ultimate antidote to validation seeking. The question that guides your life changes from "what do they think of me" to "how can I contribute?" This is a seismic shift in orientation. One question turns you inward, anxious and needy. The other turns you outward, purposeful and free. Imagine you are at a community meeting and you have an idea you are passionate about, but you are afraid it might be unpopular. The old validation seeking you might stay silent, prioritizing group approval over the potential value of your contribution. The cosmopolitan you, the citizen of the world, sees the same situation differently. You recognize that your duty is not to win the approval of the 20 people in the room, but to serve the common good as you understand it. You speak your idea with respect and clarity, not to be validated, but because it is your civic duty to the larger human community to share a perspective that might be helpful. Whether they applaud or scoff becomes secondary. You have fulfilled your role. This worldview naturally cultivates empathy. When you see every person, from the barrister to the CEO, as a fellow citizen in the cosmopolis, you begin to recognize the same struggles for meaning and the same search for peace that you experience. Their criticism of you is no longer a personal attack from an outsider, but the flawed expression of a fellow traveler. This does not mean you become a doormat. It means you stop taking things so personally. Their behavior is their business, a reflection of their own character and understanding. Your business is to maintain your own virtue in response. By anchoring your identity to the whole of humanity, you become immune to the petty politics of any single group. The need for their specific validation loses its urgency, replaced by the quiet, steady satisfaction of knowing you are playing your part in the vast, beautiful, and interconnected city of the world. This inner citadel you build as a citizen of the cosmos needs walls of resilience. The Stoics knew that comfort is a sedative for the soul, lulling you into believing you need the very luxuries and conveniences you are surrounded by. To shatter this illusion, they prescribed a radical practice: voluntary discomfort. This is the deliberate choice to embrace hardship, not as a punishment but as a form of training. It is the mental equivalent of lifting weights. You are strengthening the muscle of your contentment, proving to yourself through direct experience that your happiness and your worth are utterly independent of your external conditions. The Roman statesman Seneca, a man of immense wealth, would regularly practice poverty. He would sleep on a hard bed, wear simple clothes, and eat only the plainest food for days at a time. He was not doing this out of self-hatred. He was conducting an experiment. He wanted to know with absolute certainty that if fate stripped him of his riches and status, he would be perfectly fine. He was proving to his own psyche that his well-being was an internal state, not an external possession. This practice systematically dismantles the link between comfort and validation. We often seek nice things and comfortable lives not just for the pleasure they bring, but for the silent approval they signal to others. A luxury car, a prestigious job title, a perfectly curated home, these are often proxies for social validation. By willingly stepping away from them, you are declaring to yourself and to no one else that you do not need these tokens to feel whole. You break the associative chain that links societal approval to your sense of self. So how can you start this training without moving into a cave? The key is to begin with small, manageable acts that interrupt your autopilot of comfort. Once a week, skip a meal and feel the sensation of hunger, not with anxiety but with curiosity. Observe that the feeling arises and passes and that your core self remains completely unharmed. Take a cold shower for the final 30 seconds of your morning routine. The initial shock is a powerful reminder that you can willingly endure something unpleasant and emerge not just fine but more alert and alive. Choose to walk instead of drive for a short errand, feeling the weather on your skin. Wear a simpler, less flashy outfit and notice if you feel a subtle pull to explain yourself or seek reassurance. The point is not to become an ascetic who shuns all pleasure. It is to become a person who is no longer enslaved by the fear of discomfort or the need for luxurious signals. Each small act of voluntary discomfort is a vote for your own self-reliance. It is a quiet, personal ceremony where you demonstrate to yourself that you are the source of your own strength. When you know you can handle the cold, the hunger, or the simplicity, the approving glances of others lose their magnetic pull. You have found a deeper, more reliable source of validation, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can handle far more than you thought you could. That quiet confidence from self-reliance reveals the next essential truth, a truth that cuts the final string tying you to the puppet masters of public opinion. You must become the sole judge of your own character, wielding a gavel forged from your own reason. The Stoics insisted that the only reliable measure of a life well lived is a personal code of conduct built upon virtue, not the fickle applause of the crowd. When you outsource your judgment to others, you hand them the remote control to your inner peace, allowing them to turn your confidence on and off with a casual comment or a withheld compliment. You become a puppet dancing on the strings of their approval, your movements dictated by forces you cannot see and do not control. The escape is not to become defiant or arrogant, but to become so rooted in your own principles that the opinions of others simply lose their power to pull your strings. This begins with a radical act of self-definition, a deliberate choice to stop asking what others will think and start asking what your own reason demands. Your faculty of reason is your most sacred possession, the divine spark the Stoics believed connects you to the cosmos itself. It is not a tool for calculating profit or crafting clever arguments, but a moral compass designed to navigate the complex waters of human life. It allows you to discern the path of wisdom from the path of folly, to choose courage over cowardice, and to enact justice even when it is inconvenient. To ignore this inner guide is to silence your most trusted advisor, leaving you deaf and adrift in a sea of conflicting external voices. How do you begin to listen? The most powerful Stoic exercise for this is to write your own personal code of conduct. This is not a vague list of New Year's resolutions or career goals. It is a definitive, written constitution for your own soul, a clear set of standards based on the 4 cardinal virtues. Take a piece of paper or open a blank document and create 4 simple headings. Under wisdom, write what it means for you to act with practical judgment this week. Perhaps it means pausing for 10 seconds before reacting angrily to an email, or researching a topic thoroughly before forming a strong opinion. Under courage, define what bravery looks like in your current life. It might be having that difficult but necessary conversation you have been avoiding, or speaking up in a meeting when you see an injustice. Under justice, outline how you will treat the people around you with fairness. This could be a commitment to listening fully without interrupting, or going out of your way to help a colleague without expecting anything in return. Under temperance, describe how you will practice self-control. Maybe it is limiting your time on social media to 1 hour a day, or consciously moderating your consumption of something, whether it is food, news, or gossip. This document becomes your personal holy text, the only yardstick that matters. At the end of each day, you do not measure your success by your paycheck, your social media notifications, or the praise you receive. You hold your actions up against your own code. Did I live up to the standards I set for myself? This practice fundamentally rewires your brain. The question, did they like me, is replaced by the far more important question, did I act with integrity? The shift is profound. You are no longer a performer awaiting a review from a faceless audience. You are the playwright, the director, and the lead critic of your own life's play, and your review is the only one that carries any real weight. When you know with bone-deep certainty that you have lived up to your own ideals, the silence or even the scorn of the world feels like background noise, irrelevant to the quiet symphony of self-respect playing within you. That gavel of self-judgment you now hold reveals a deeper secret about the world's noise. Every piece of praise you have ever received, every word of blame that has ever stung you, is just a vibration in the air. It is a temporary arrangement of sound waves, carrying no more inherent meaning than the wind rustling through leaves. The Stoics insist we dissect both praise and blame with the dispassionate eye of a scientist observing data, because when you do, you discover a startling truth. These sounds reveal almost nothing about you and everything about the person making them. Consider praise. When someone compliments your work, your appearance, or your ideas, what is actually happening? They are expressing a personal preference, a judgment filtered through their own unique set of biases, experiences, and desires. Their praise is a statement about what they value, not an objective measurement of your worth. A famous actor is praised for their performance, but the same performance might be panned by a critic who prefers a different style. The performance did not change. The only thing that changed was the subjective lens of the observer. The praise was always about the viewer, not the actor. This is why basking in praise is as unstable as building your house on a cloud. It feels wonderful, but it offers no foundation. The same logic applies with even greater force to blame and criticism. When someone attacks you, dismisses your efforts, or speaks ill of you, they are projecting their own internal world onto you. Their blame is very often a confession of their own insecurities, misunderstandings, or unresolved pain. Think of the office gossip who constantly criticizes others. Their behavior is not a reliable report on their targets. It is a clear signal of their own inner turmoil and lack of purpose. The harsh comment from an internet stranger is not a piercing insight into your character. It is the emotional vomit of someone who is likely deeply unhappy. When you truly see this, you can receive an insult without absorbing it. You can look at the person hurling blame, and instead of feeling wounded, you might feel a flicker of understanding. You see a human being who is confused, who is lashing out from their own hurt. Their words are not a sword meant to pierce you, but a mirror reflecting their own inner state. This is not about excusing toxic behavior. It is about immunizing yourself against its emotional impact. Your sense of self remains solid because you know it was never truly about you in the first place. So how do you practice this dispassionate analysis in the heat of the moment? The next time you receive a compliment, instead of letting it inflate your ego, simply observe it. Thank the person and then internally note the data. This person values efficiency or creativity or a certain aesthetic. That is interesting information about them. File it away. When criticism comes, do not react. Pause. Look at the words as if they were a specimen in a jar. Ask yourself, what does this criticism reveal about the person giving it? Are they fearful? Are they ignorant of the full context? Are they trying to assert dominance because they feel powerless? This simple shift in perspective transforms an emotional trigger into a fascinating piece of sociological data. The vibration in the air arrives, and you simply let it pass through you, leaving your inner citadel completely undisturbed. You become the calm scientist in the laboratory of your own life, and both praise and blame become nothing more than interesting weather patterns outside your window. Death is the ultimate deadline, and it clarifies everything. The 11th Stoic truth, memento mori, is the practice of remembering you will die. Far from being a morbid obsession, this remembrance is a powerful tool for liberation. It cuts through the noise of social approval and forces you to confront a single, piercing question. On your last day, will you be proud of how you spent your precious time, or will you regret having lived for the applause of an audience that has long since moved on? The Stoics were not frightened by this question, they were energized by it. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not suggesting a life of frantic activity, but a life of profound intention. When you carry the awareness of your own mortality with you, the desire to win an argument, to impress a stranger, or to be seen as important reveals itself for what it is, a distraction from your finite and irreplaceable hours. This practice shrinks the ego and expands the soul. Think of the last time you felt a deep sting of rejection or a burning need for validation. Now project that feeling forward to the final moments of your life. From that ultimate vantage point, how much will that particular sting truly matter? The answer is not at all. What will matter is the love you gave, the integrity you upheld, the courage you showed, and the moments you were fully, authentically present. Memento mori is the lens that brings this truth into sharp focus. It is the philosophical equivalent of a camera pulling back from a close-up to a wide shot, revealing the vast landscape of your life and making the tiny pebble of someone's disapproval disappear into the horizon. This is not a call to abandon ambition, but to direct it toward what is enduring. The writer or artist who creates from a place of memento mori is not crafting a message for the trendy critics of the day, but is speaking a truth that might resonate for generations. Their work becomes authentic because it is filtered through the urgency of a finite life. They are building a legacy, not chasing a trend. Seneca put it with his characteristic bluntness: "He who has learned to die has unlearned how to be a slave." The slave he speaks of is the person enslaved to external opinions, to the fear of what others might think. By making peace with the one certainty we all face, you free yourself from the thousand smaller fears that govern so much of social behavior. You unlearn the need to be a slave to validation. How can you incorporate this into your daily routine without becoming grim? It can be as simple as a morning ritual. When you wake up, before you check your phone or dive into the day's demands, take just 60 seconds to sit in silence and acknowledge, "I am alive today, but I will not be alive forever. This day is a gift and I will not waste it seeking approval." Carry that thought with you as an inner compass. Let it guide your decisions, both large and small. Let it give you the courage to voice the unpopular opinion in a meeting if it is true and just. Let it give you the strength to walk away from a conversation where you are tempted to gossip just to fit in. Let it remind you to call a loved one instead of scrolling through social media, seeking empty engagement. Each time you choose authenticity over approval, you are not just rejecting external validation. You are embracing a life lived on your own terms, a life whose value is measured by its depth, not its duration in the spotlight. Your death is not a threat to your happiness. It is the very thing that makes your choices meaningful. An impediment to your progress becomes the very path forward. This is the core of the Stoic principle known as the obstacle is the way, a truth that transforms every denial of validation from a personal rejection into a training ground for your soul. When someone withholds their approval, when a project is met with silence or scorn, the old you might have seen a locked door. The Stoic sees a set of weights, an opportunity to strengthen the muscles of patience, resilience, and self-assurance. The obstacle is not something to be avoided, it is the curriculum. History offers a profound lesson in this from the life of Marcus Aurelius himself. During the brutal Marcomannic Wars, he faced not only external enemies but the treachery of his own trusted general, Avidius Cassius, who declared himself emperor in a bloody revolt. This was the ultimate betrayal, a public and humiliating denial of his authority and worthiness to rule. Marcus Aurelius could have descended into rage and self-pity, seeing this as a catastrophic blow to his legacy. Instead, he treated the obstacle as the way. He used the betrayal as a chance to practice the virtues he wrote about in his private meditations. He chose justice over vengeance, ordering that Cassius be captured but not executed, hoping to give him a fair trial. He practiced forgiveness, reassuring the Senate that he wished no widespread purges of the traitor's supporters. He even expressed concern for the family of the man who tried to steal his throne. The obstacle of betrayal became his path to demonstrating profound leadership and clemency. Your own obstacles will be far smaller in scale, but the principle remains identical. That coworker who constantly dismisses your ideas is not a barrier to your success. They are your personal trainer for patience and clarity. Every time you present your work calmly in the face of their skepticism, you are building emotional endurance. The client who rejects your proposal is not a verdict on your talent. They are handing you the chisel to refine your skills and your understanding of the market. The social slight that once would have sent you into a spiral of self-doubt is now a pop quiz from the universe, testing your commitment to your own values. Do you still believe you are capable and worthy when no one is clapping? The obstacle provides the answer. It forces you to look inward and find the validation you are seeking externally. The criticism that stings the most is often the one that points toward a skill you need to develop or a fear you need to face. By embracing the obstacle, you stop fighting the resistance and start using its friction to move forward. The path to your goals is not a smooth, straight line free of disapproval. It is a rugged trail paved with the very stones of criticism and rejection that others threw in your direction. You pick up each stone not to throw it back, but to build the foundation of your own unshakable character. This deep alignment with your own rational nature is the very essence of Stoic purpose. Living according to nature is not about moving to the woods or eating only wild berries. For a human being, our nature is reason. It is our highest faculty, the unique gift that allows us to think clearly, act with purpose, and choose virtue over base impulse. This is your true operating system. When you live according to it, you are fulfilling your fundamental design, and a profound sense of rightness follows. It feels like a key sliding into a perfectly matched lock. This internal congruence is a form of fulfillment that no amount of social credit can ever replicate. External validation is a loud, distracting party outside the house. Living according to your rational nature is the quiet, satisfying hum of the home's furnace, providing steady, reliable warmth from within. Contrast this with the unnatural life, the life of performance. When you twist your actions, your words, and even your personality to win approval, you are forcing the key. You are going against your own design. The cognitive dissonance created by this constant performance is a primary source of modern anxiety. It is the grinding sound of a machine trying to run on the wrong fuel. You feel conflicted, fragmented, and exhausted because you are at war with yourself. Your rational mind knows the performance is a facade, yet your desire for acceptance pushes you to maintain the charade. This inner conflict is a signal that you have strayed from your nature. Think of a simple, everyday scenario. You are in a group conversation, and someone makes a statement you know is factually incorrect. The old validation seeking you might nod along, afraid to disrupt the harmony or risk looking like a know-it-all. You perform agreement to maintain your social standing. But in that moment, you have betrayed your rational nature. Your reason identified a truth, yet your action contradicted it for an external reward. The small, quiet pang of unease you feel afterward is your essential self reminding you of the misalignment. Now imagine the alternative. You speak up not with arrogance but with gentle clarity. You might say, "I had understood it differently, and here is why." You are honoring your nature as a rational being. The outcome is secondary. The group might accept your correction or they might dismiss it. What matters is that you acted in accordance with your own core design. You were authentic to your capacity for reason. This grounds your self-worth not in whether you convinced them, but in the fact that you were true to yourself. Your worth is found in the alignment between your inner truth and your outer action. This is how you build a self that needs no external validation, because its worth is confirmed with every rational, virtuous choice you make. The fulfillment is immediate and internal, a quiet reward that the social world can neither give nor take away. There is a profound sense of peace found in the simple act of looking down at an ant-hill. From your human height, you see the frantic, purposeful movements of each tiny creature, each one convinced that its particular path is the most important thing in the world. Now take that perspective and expand it infinitely. This is the Stoic practice known as the view from above. It is a mental exercise where you deliberately pull your consciousness out of the cramped room of your immediate concerns and imagine yourself rising higher and higher until you are looking down at your life from the cold, silent expanse of space. From this vantage point, the city you live in becomes a faint, glowing grid. The continent is a shapeless patch on a blue marble. The planet itself is just a pale blue dot suspended in a sunbeam. And on that dot, your entire life, with all its triumphs and heartaches, its soaring validations and its stinging rejections, is contained in a single, fleeting flicker. That critical comment from your boss, the social media post that did not get enough likes, the awkward conversation you cannot stop replaying in your mind, where are they now? They have vanished into the incomprehensible vastness. They are smaller than a single grain of sand on a beach that stretches for light years. This is not meant to make your life feel meaningless, but to make your anxieties about validation feel manageable. Your ego, that part of you that craves approval and fears judgment, thrives on a sense of self-importance. It magnifies every social slight into a cosmic event. The view from above is the ultimate corrective lens. It shrinks your ego back to its proper human scale. You realize that your struggle for recognition is being played out on a stage so immense that the applause or the silence of your tiny audience is simply absorbed by the silence of the cosmos. It provides instant relief because it is the truth. Your worries are real to you, but in the grand, unfolding timeline of the universe, they are a momentary whisper. To practice this, you do not need any special equipment. You can do it right now in the middle of your day. Close your eyes for just 30 seconds. Feel the weight of your body in your chair. Now, in your mind's eye, pull back. See the room you are in from the ceiling. See the building from the outside. See your neighborhood from the sky, the cars like tiny beetles, the people invisible. Keep pulling back. See your city, then your country, then the spinning curve of the earth wrapped in clouds. Finally, see the whole planet, a beautiful, lonely jewel in the black void. Now locate yourself. Find that speck of dust which is you. From here is the validation you were craving an hour ago, still burning with the same intensity. The practice works because it is not an escape from reality, but an embrace of a larger, more truthful reality. Your life matters, but your need for constant approval does not. When you return to your grounded perspective, you bring a piece of that cosmic calm back with you. The need to be right, to be seen, to be praised feels less urgent. It has been placed in its proper context as a small part of a magnificent whole. You are free to engage with the world not from a place of lack, but from a place of wholeness, having seen just how grand the stage truly is. Your mind is not a blank slate that simply records the world. It is an active interpreter, constantly assigning meaning to everything that happens. This is the heart of the 15th Stoic truth, the realization that you are not disturbed by events themselves, but by your own judgments about those events. The sting of a critical comment is not in the words spoken. It is in your judgment that those words represent a threat to your worth. The warm glow of praise is not in the sound, it is in your judgment that this praise confirms your value. The entire craving for validation is built upon a single foundational judgment, the impression that external approval is a good and necessary thing for your happiness. But what if that judgment is wrong? The Stoics discovered that freedom lies in becoming the master of your impressions, not their slave. Your first task is to catch the impression in the act. It happens in a flash. You see a frowning face in a meeting after you speak, and instantly a story forms in your mind. They think my idea is stupid. I have lost their respect. This feeling is awful. That entire cascade is a series of rapid-fire judgments, and you have the power to intercept it. Imagine your mind as a fortified city. Every impression, every initial judgment is a traveler arriving at the gate. The old, untrained you would fling the gates open wide, allowing every thought and feeling to rush in and wreak havoc on your emotional state. The Stoic practice is to station a disciplined gatekeeper at the entrance, your faculty of reason. This gatekeeper's job is to stop each impression and demand its credentials before granting it entry. When the impression arrives shouting, "This criticism is terrible and proves I am a failure," the gatekeeper calmly asks, "Is that truly the case? Is this person's opinion an objective fact about my worth, or is it merely their personal perspective? Is this feeling of shame a necessary response, or can I choose a different one?" This moment of pause is where your power resides. Let us take a concrete example. You share a personal achievement on social media, and the response is muted, far fewer likes and comments than you expected. The initial automatic impression might scream, "People do not care. My accomplishment is not valuable. I am embarrassed for having posted it." This impression immediately creates feelings of disappointment, anxiety, and self-doubt. Now apply the gatekeeper. Stop that impression at the gate and subject it to rational scrutiny. Ask, is it true that a low number of likes means my achievement lacks value? My accomplishment happened before I posted about it. Its value was real in the moment I achieved it. The likes are just digital signals unrelated to the effort and growth the achievement represented. Is it true that people do not care? Perhaps they are simply busy. Perhaps the algorithm did not show them the post. Their inaction is not a deliberate verdict on my life. By dissecting the impression, you drain it of its destructive power. The event was neutral, a certain number on a screen. Your judgment was the source of the pain. When you change the judgment, you change your entire emotional reality. You move from feeling rejected to feeling neutral, or even to feeling proud of your accomplishment regardless of its digital echo. This is not about positive thinking, it is about accurate thinking. It is about aligning your judgments with reality, not with your fears or your cravings. The gatekeeper does not reject every negative impression. It only rejects the ones that are irrational and unhelpful. Some criticism, for instance, might contain a grain of valuable truth. The gatekeeper's job is to sift through the emotional charge to find that grain, accepting what is useful and discarding the rest as irrelevant noise. Every time you perform this simple act of interrogation, you strengthen the gatekeeper. You reinforce the truth that your peace of mind is an internal affair, governed by your own reason, and utterly independent of the ever-changing opinions of the outside world. You are no longer a passive recipient of your thoughts, but an active architect of your inner world. Your own words can be the very chains that bind you to the need for approval. We often speak not to communicate, but to perform, to fill an awkward silence with proof of our wit, or to assert our importance in a conversation. This compulsive talking is a subtle leak of your energy and a quiet plea for the room to validate your presence. The Stoics identified this under the cardinal virtue of temperance, which governs not just our appetites but our speech. They saw disciplined silence not as a weakness but as a profound source of strength. Epictetus put it bluntly, reminding his students that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Every word you do not utter is a small deposit into an account of quiet confidence. When you resist the urge to interject with a clever story of your own, when you choose to listen fully instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, you are sending a powerful message to your own psyche. You are demonstrating that your sense of self is secure enough that it does not require constant verbal reinforcement. Think of the most respected person you have ever met. They are likely not the loudest voice in the room, but the one who, when they do speak, their words carry weight because they are measured and purposeful. Their silence is not empty, it is full of presence. History offers a masterclass in this with figures like the American President Calvin Coolidge, famously nicknamed Silent Cal. A story is told of a woman sitting next to him at a dinner party who bet she could get him to say more than 2 words. He turned to her and simply replied, "You lose." While the tale may be apocryphal, it captures the essence of a leader who commanded respect through a quiet, unwavering presence, not through grand speeches or a need to dominate every conversation. In your own life, this practice is transformative. In your next team meeting, challenge yourself to speak only when you have something essential to contribute. Observe the frantic energy of others vying for attention, telling long stories to illustrate a minor point, or laughing a little too loudly at the boss's joke. See it for what it often is, the visible tremor of a need for validation. Your own calm silence in the midst of this becomes a fortress. You are no longer participating in the invisible auction for approval. You are conserving your energy, observing the dynamics, and choosing your moments with precision. When you do speak, people will lean in to listen because they have learned your words are not cheap. This cultivated silence builds a confidence that is unshakable because it is not borrowed from the reactions of others. It is the quiet certainty that you do not need to be the center of attention to know your own worth. The power you hold in stillness far outweighs the temporary satisfaction of a perfectly delivered punchline. That disciplined silence is not an end in itself, but a preparation for meaningful action. Your duty is to act rightly, not to be recognized for it. This is the 17th Stoic truth, and it centers on a powerful Greek concept, kathikonta, or appropriate actions. These are the duties that come with your various roles in life. As a parent, your appropriate action is to care for your child with patience and love. As an employee, it is to do your work with diligence and integrity. As a citizen, it is to act justly and contribute to your community. The Stoic focuses all their energy on performing these duties to the best of their ability and with the very best of intentions. The outcome, the result, the recognition, the applause, that is a separate matter, and it is not your business. This completely flips the script on validation. You are no longer working for the gold star at the end of the task. You are working for the integrity you expressed during the task itself. The reward is in the rightness of the action, not in the external reaction it generates. Think of the actor on a stage, an analogy the Stoics themselves loved. A great actor does not pour their soul into a performance while secretly staring at the audience, waiting to see who will clap first. Their entire world in that moment is the truth of the character and the delivery of their lines. They are focused on the process, the craft, the authenticity of the performance. Whether the audience erupts in a standing ovation or sits in stony silence is a secondary concern, a consequence that lies outside the boundary of their craft. Their job was to act, and they did it well. This is your model for life. You are the actor, and your various roles are the parts you play. Your script is your personal code of virtue. Your sole responsibility is to deliver your lines and perform your actions with as much wisdom, courage, and justice as you can muster. Did you prepare the report with thoroughness and clarity? That was your duty. Did you listen to your friend with genuine empathy and without distraction? That was your duty. Did you treat the stranger with basic human respect? That was your duty. The promotion, the gratitude, the returned favor, these are all potential forms of applause from the audience of the world. They are pleasant when they come, but they are not the reason you took the stage. When you make this shift, a profound sense of liberation follows. The anxiety that usually accompanies a big presentation dissolves because your goal is no longer to win unanimous approval. Your goal is simply to communicate your ideas as clearly and honestly as you can. The resentment that builds when you feel your efforts at home are going unnoticed vanishes because your duty was to contribute to your family's well-being, not to receive a trophy for it. You begin to find a quiet, deep satisfaction in the work itself, in the simple act of doing what is right. This is how you build a life that is immune to the whims of public opinion. Your sense of accomplishment becomes internal and immediate, a private nod of self-respect you give yourself the moment you complete a task with virtue. The world may be busy handing out its awards and its criticisms, but you are no longer in the audience waiting for your name to be called. You are backstage, already satisfied, already fulfilled by the knowledge that you played your part. The applause you never receive cannot diminish the quiet wealth you already possess. Gratitude is the Stoic's secret weapon against the hunger for validation, a deliberate recalibration of your focus from what is missing to what is abundantly present. Think of your mind as a ship and the need for approval as a strong wind trying to blow you off course. Gratitude is the ballast in your hull, the heavy weight of appreciation that keeps you stable and upright, no matter how hard the winds of external opinion blow. Seneca, a man who knew both immense wealth and brutal exile, wrote extensively about giving thanks for every single day. He practiced seeing each sunrise not as a given but as a gift. This is not a passive feeling but an active and disciplined exercise. It systematically dismantles the feeling of lack that fuels your need for validation. When you are genuinely thankful for the functioning of your body, for the capacity of your mind to reason, for the simple roof over your head, the desperate urge to have someone else confirm your worth starts to seem unnecessary, even a little absurd. Why beg for a certificate of merit from the world when you are already living in a palace of unearned gifts? Your very breath is a miracle you did nothing to deserve. This sense of sufficiency is the antithesis of neediness. A person who feels truly rich in their own life does not anxiously check their social media for compliments. A person who is grateful for their ability to work and create does not crumble when one project is met with silence. The external approval you were chasing was never the real target. It was a misguided substitute for this deep, internal feeling of enough. To build this ballast, you need a consistent practice, something as simple and grounding as a daily gratitude journal. The key is to move beyond generic lists. Do not just write, "I am grateful for my family." Instead, use a prompt that forces a specific and sensory appreciation. Each evening, ask yourself this question and write down the answer. What is one small, ordinary thing that supported me today, and how did it make my life easier? Your entry might look like this. Today, I am grateful for the hot water in my shower this morning. The warmth eased the tension in my shoulders and helped me feel clean and ready to face the day, a small luxury I often overlook. Or today, I am grateful for the quiet 5 minutes I had with my coffee. The stillness allowed me to gather my thoughts and approach my work with more calm than if I had rushed. This practice does something remarkable. It trains your brain to scan your day not for slights and disappointments, but for hidden supports and quiet blessings. You start to notice the infrastructure of grace that holds your life together, the countless things that go right. And when you are filled with a conscious awareness of this abundance, the absence of someone's approval simply has no room to grow into a catastrophe. You are too busy being thankful for what you have to be devastated by what you did not get. The river never stops flowing, and neither does the world around you. The 19th Stoic truth confronts this head-on, drawing from the ancient philosopher Heraclitus, who famously stated that you cannot step into the same river twice. The Stoics wholeheartedly embraced this reality. The universe is not a fixed photograph but a moving picture, a constant, rushing flux of change. Your body is changing in this very moment, the cells renewing and decaying. Your relationships are shifting, your circumstances are evolving, and most importantly for our purpose, the opinions of others are in perpetual motion. The social trends you might crave to be part of today will be forgotten memes tomorrow. To cling to a need for stable, unchanging validation in such a world is an exercise in profound frustration. It is like trying to build your house on the surface of that river, demanding that the water hold still to support you. The current will always win, and you will be left exhausted, cold, and perpetually disappointed. The praise you receive today will be gone tomorrow, replaced by a new concern or a different critic. The social media platform where you cultivated a following could become obsolete in a few years, taking all that accumulated approval with it into digital oblivion. When you fight this fundamental nature of reality, you are fighting a battle you are guaranteed to lose. The suffering is not in the change itself, but in your resistance to it. So what is the alternative? The Stoic answer is not to become passive, but to learn the art of flowing with the current. This means embracing impermanence as your ally, not your enemy. When you deeply accept that every compliment and every insult is a temporary weather pattern, you can learn to receive them both lightly. You can enjoy the warmth of praise without desperately trying to bottle it, knowing the sun will eventually set. You can feel the chill of criticism without letting it frost your entire inner world, trusting that the climate will shift again. This is the secret to remaining steady amidst the chaos. Your core self, your character, becomes the deep, still riverbed, while the opinions of the world become the water flowing over it. The water changes constantly, sometimes clear and calm, sometimes muddy and turbulent, but the riverbed remains solid and unmoved. Think of a pop culture phenomenon from just a few years ago, a celebrity, a show, a viral dance that everyone was talking about. Where is that fervent admiration now? It has flowed on, replaced by a new obsession. The validation those things received was real, but it was never permanent. Your own life is filled with these microcurrents. The boss who praised you last month may be focused on a new problem today. The friend who admired your choice might later question it. When you see this not as personal betrayal but as the natural rhythm of a changing world, you stop taking it personally. You become adaptable, like a willow tree bending in a storm rather than a rigid oak that risks snapping. You can appreciate the kind word without building your identity upon it, and you can consider the critical one without letting it define you. You learn to hold everything lightly with an open hand, allowing the winds of change to pass through your fingers without snatching away your peace. This is the ultimate freedom in a world of flux, to be so rooted in your own constant development that the rising and falling tides of external opinion cannot erode the foundation you stand on. Each small act of self-denial is a quiet rebellion against the need for applause. Stoic self-mastery asks you to deliberately forego a pleasure or convenience, not as a form of punishment, but as a powerful declaration of independence from the things you believe you need to be happy. This is the 20th truth, a practical extension of voluntary discomfort. When you choose to abstain from something you enjoy, you are conducting a live fire experiment on your own mind, proving conclusively that your well-being is not held hostage by any external object or social reward. Think of it as strength training for your soul. Every time you lift a weight of resistance, you break a tiny chain of dependency. One of the most potent modern applications is to create something you are genuinely proud of, and then deliberately not share it on social media. You finish a painting, complete a challenging project, or reach a personal fitness goal, and you simply let the achievement exist for you alone. The initial impulse will be strong, a conditioned reflex to broadcast your success and wait for the validating chime of notifications. But when you resist that impulse, you are sitting in a classroom with one student, yourself. You are forced to feel the full, undiluted satisfaction of the act itself without any external seasoning. The accomplishment must stand on its own merits in your own heart. Does it still feel meaningful without the public celebration? The answer is a profound yes, and in that yes, you reclaim a piece of your inner territory. The same principle applies to material luxuries. Skip the expensive coffee and drink water. Pass on the trendy new gadget and make do with what you have. Wear an old, comfortable outfit instead of buying a new one for a casual event. In each of these small choices, you are not saying the luxury is bad. You are proving to the deepest part of your psyche that your happiness is not contingent upon it. You are actively severing the subconscious link between possession and personal worth. The person who knows they can be happy without a luxury car is free to enjoy one if it comes, but is equally content without it. They are no longer driving it to prove something to their neighbors. The validation they once sought through display is now generated internally through the quiet confidence of self-sufficiency. This practice builds a resilient core that remains unshaken by the fluctuating opinions of the world, because you have repeatedly demonstrated to yourself through action that you are the sole source of your own approval. The world constantly whispers a single, insidious command: more. More success, more followers, more possessions, more compliments. This endless escalation is a trap, a societal hamster wheel designed to keep you perpetually hungry for the next external token that might finally prove your worth. But the Stoics offered a radical alternative: the profound liberation of defining your own enough. They advocated for knowing with absolute clarity what is sufficient for a virtuous and flourishing life. This is not about settling for less, but about choosing your own destination, freeing yourself from the exhausting race toward a horizon that always recedes. When you know what enough looks like for you, the desperate pursuit of validation to show you have more than someone else becomes meaningless. The game is over, and you have won on your own terms. Let us try a simple but powerful exercise to make this real. Take a moment to think about your career. What does enough truly mean for you? Is it a specific income that provides security and allows you to contribute meaningfully to your family and community? Or is it a relentless climb toward an ever higher title and salary that you believe will finally earn you respect? Now consider your social life. Does enough mean having a small circle of genuine, trustworthy friends with whom you can be your authentic self? Or is it a frantic collection of hundreds of acquaintances and followers, mistaking quantity for the quality of your connections? Finally, look at your possessions. What is enough for you? A home that is a sanctuary of peace and comfort, or a constantly expanding collection of things that demand your time, energy, and attention, all to signal a status you hope others will admire? Write these definitions down. Be brutally honest. Your enough for your career might be a position that challenges you without consuming your entire life. Your enough for social connection might be 3 people you can call at 3 in the morning. Your enough for possessions might be a simple, reliable car and a wardrobe that is functional and comfortable. The specific answers do not matter. What matters is that you have drawn your own map. Once these lines are clearly defined, a remarkable shift occurs. The promotion you did not get is no longer a verdict on your life, because you already have enough for the life you have chosen. The party you were not invited to loses its sting, because your enough for connection is already met. The new gadget your neighbor flaunts becomes irrelevant, a mere object outside the boundaries of your own sufficient world. You stop looking sideways, comparing your journey to others, and you start looking inward, living a life of contentment and freedom based on a standard that you and you alone have set. This is the ultimate declaration of independence from the validation of the crowd. You are no longer a contestant in their race. You are a traveler on your own path, and you have already arrived at the place you decided was worth going. Your own defined enough is a fortress, but its deepest foundation rests on a startling Stoic claim. There is a spark of the divine within you. This is not a metaphor for mere intelligence, but the core of Stoic theology, the belief that human reason is a literal fragment of the universal logos, the rational, ordering principle that governs the entire cosmos. This divine spark is your true essence, the very source of your unassailable dignity. It means the part of you capable of wisdom, justice, and courage is not just a personal trait. It is a piece of the universe itself, a sacred and indestructible inheritance. When you feel that small, quiet voice urging you toward what is right, that is not social conditioning. It is this inner divinity calling you to align with the grand, rational design of nature. To connect with this is to enter what the Stoics called your inner citadel, a fortress of the soul that no external opinion can ever breach. Your worth is not something the world can bestow, like a crown placed upon your head by a fickle monarch. It is a light you carry within, a fundamental part of your being that was lit at the moment you became a reasoning creature. This understanding provides a spiritual foundation for self-validation that makes social hierarchies look like childish games. The approval of a billionaire or the disdain of a critic cannot add to or subtract from the divine element that constitutes your core. They are merely commenting on the temporary costume you wear, not the eternal spark that animates you. Think of a simple, everyday moment of moral choice. You find a lost wallet on the street filled with cash. The old validation seeking you might be tempted to consider what you could buy with it or how clever you would feel for getting away with it. But when you pause and connect with that inner citadel, you touch something deeper. The divine spark of reason and justice within you recognizes a simple truth: this is not mine. The right action is clear. Returning the wallet is not about being seen as a good person. It is about honoring the logos within you, acting in harmony with the rational order of the universe which values justice and community. Your reward is not the praise of the wallet's owner, but the profound inner confirmation that you have acted in accordance with your own sacred nature. This is why the Stoic sage is so serene. They walk through the world not as a beggar seeking validation, but as a custodian of a divine flame. They know their dignity is inherent, woven into the fabric of their being, and thus completely independent of the applause or the silence that greets them. You carry your own crown, and it cannot be taken from you. That inner citadel, lit by a divine spark, requires surprisingly little furniture. The 23rd Stoic truth reveals that the art of contentment with little is not a life of grim deprivation, but a life of radical freedom. By consciously choosing to be satisfied with less, with fewer material possessions, a smaller circle of genuine friends, and simpler pleasures, you pull out the very hooks the world uses to snag your need for validation. Every luxury you believe you need, every trendy object you feel pressured to own, every expansive social circle you struggle to maintain, these are all potential levers that others can pull to make you dance for their approval. When you learn to be content with a simple meal, the pressure to earn enough for lavish dinners to impress others vanishes. When you find joy in a quiet walk, the need to post about an extravagant vacation to prove your happiness dissolves. This simplicity is a strategic disarmament in the war for your own soul. Consider the Roman senator Cato the Younger. He was a man of immense political power and wealth, yet he was famous for his austere personal habits. He often walked the streets of Rome barefoot, wore a simple, outdated toga without concern for fashion, and ate the plainest food. He did this not because he had to, but because he chose to. In a society obsessed with status and display, Cato's simplicity was a shocking declaration of independence. He was demonstrating that his power and his worth came from his unwavering character and his principles, not from his possessions or his ability to conform to societal expectations. His peers, dripping in gold and desperate for public acclaim, were easily manipulated. Their need for validation made them vulnerable to flattery, bribery, and social pressure. Cato, content with little, was untouchable. He could not be bribed with luxuries he did not value, nor could he be shamed by criticisms from people whose opinions he did not respect. His power lay in his complete independence from the very things others used to control one another. You can cultivate this same freedom in your modern life. It begins with a conscious audit of your own hooks. What are the things you fear being seen without? Is it the latest smartphone, a certain brand of clothing, a car that signals a particular status. Each of these is a tiny thread tying your sense of self to the mall, to the advertiser, to the gaze of your neighbors. The practice is to deliberately loosen these threads. Cook a simple, nutritious meal at home instead of going to an expensive restaurant primarily to post about it. Spend a weekend unplugged, enjoying the company of one or two close friends without feeling the need to document it for a wider audience. Declutter your living space not with the goal of minimalist aesthetics, but with the intention of removing objects that demand your care and subconsciously tie your identity to their possession. Each act of choosing enough over more is a small victory for your inner Kato. It is a quiet vote for a self that is defined by its internal qualities, not its external decorations. The world will continue to shout that you need more to be happy, to be important, to be valid. But contentment whispers a different, more powerful truth, that you are already whole, and that the greatest luxury of all is the freedom that comes when you no longer need anything from the crowd to feel that way. Your daily choices are the final exam for all your Stoic study. Books and quotes can inspire you, but the true measure of your philosophy is written in your actions, in the quiet moments when no one is watching and the loud ones when everyone is judging. Stoicism is not a theory to be admired from a distance. It is a craft to be practiced with your hands, a path you walk with your feet. Every time you choose patience over irritation, courage over comfort, or justice over personal gain, you are not just reading about virtue, you are building it into the very fiber of your being. This consistent practice closes the most painful gap we experience, the chasm between the person you believe you should be and the person your actions reveal you to be. When those two align, a profound self-congruence emerges. You no longer present a polished facade to the world while secretly feeling like an imposter. Your internal values and your external presentation become one seamless whole. And in that unity, the desperate need for others to validate your identity simply vanishes. Why would you need someone to certify an identity you are already living with every breath? Your life becomes the argument, and it is a case you no longer need to plead. Think of a leader who preaches transparency but is secretly duplicitous. Their team may offer surface-level respect, but the leader themselves lives in a state of constant anxiety, fearing exposure, perpetually hungry for reassurance that their mask is convincing. Contrast that with a leader whose private decisions match their public words. They may make unpopular choices, but they sleep soundly at night. Their validation comes not from unanimous agreement, but from the quiet knowledge that they have been true to their own code. This is the power of a life lived as philosophy. You become a living example of your beliefs, and that self-congruence is the most potent form of validation there is. It is a deep, resonant confirmation that echoes in your own soul, a satisfaction no amount of external applause could ever replicate. This final freedom is not an empty silence, but a spacious clearing for your soul. After walking through the previous 24 truths, you arrive at a summit, a state of mature indifference to trivialities. This is not the cold apathy of someone who has given up on life, but the warm, purposeful focus of someone who has finally learned what deserves their finite attention and emotional energy. You have practiced the dichotomy of control, separating your inner world from the outer noise. You have built your inner citadel and learned to love your fate. You have defined your own enough and connected with the divine spark within. Now, all those practices coalesce into a single, liberating state of being, where the majority of social validation simply registers as trivial, as background static with no power to command your inner state. Think of your mind as a grand, ancient library. Every time you worry about a casual criticism or anxiously check for likes, you are handing a priceless, limited edition book to a scribbler who only wants to draw cartoons in the margins. Your mental energy, your focus, your emotional capacity, these are the rare and precious texts. Stoic indifference is the decision to stop handing them out so freely. It is the conscious choice to reserve your library's resources for the works that truly matter, for deep thought, for creative endeavors, for loving connection, for the pursuit of virtue. This reallocation is not a loss, it is a massive gain. When you stop caring about the petty judgments, the latest trends, and the frantic chase for approval, you free up an immense amount of mental real estate. That constant, low-grade anxiety about what others think evaporates, and in its place you find a quiet capacity for what is truly meaningful. A life directed by your own reason and values can finally take root and flourish in that cleared space. This is the ultimate freedom Stoicism offers, the freedom to stop performing for an audience you never chose and start living a life you deeply respect. You are no longer a pinball bouncing between the flippers of other people's opinions. You are the player calmly directing the course of your own game. The machine will still make its noises, the lights will still flash, but you are no longer confused by the spectacle. You know the score that truly matters is kept within. This mature indifference allows you to engage with the world more fully, not less, because you are no longer emotionally entangled in every slight and every compliment. You can listen more deeply, observe more clearly, and act more justly. You can hear a piece of criticism and evaluate it for useful data without letting it wreck your day. You can receive a compliment and appreciate it as a kind gesture without letting it inflate your identity. You are free to participate in society without being consumed by it. Your sense of self is no longer a fragile sculpture being judged at the county fair. It is a sturdy, well-loved tool that you use to build a life of purpose. The final, beautiful truth is this: the less you need validation, the more authentically you can connect with others. You can offer love without needing it to be returned in a specific way. You can collaborate without needing to be the one who gets the credit. You can contribute to your community without requiring a plaque with your name on it. Your relationships become purer, less transactional, and more deeply rewarding because they are built on a foundation of genuine choice, not a desperate need for reassurance. This is the quiet victory at the end of the Stoic path, a life lived from the inside out, a soul that has come home to itself, finally and completely free. The prison of external validation has no lock on the door, only the habit of staying inside. Our journey through these 25 Stoic truths was not about collecting clever quotes, but about dismantling that invisible cage piece by piece, from the foundational insight that your worth is self-built to the ultimate liberation of loving your fate. Each truth is a tool, whether it is the daily practice of the dichotomy of control, the resilience forged by premeditating hardships, or the cosmic perspective that shrinks social anxiety to its proper size. Together, they construct an inner citadel so strong that the opinions of others become like weather against its walls, noticed but powerless to disturb the peace within. This is not a call to isolation, but to a more authentic connection. When you are no longer performing for applause, you can finally meet others as they are, offering your gifts not to win favor, but as a simple expression of your character. The goal was never to become cold or detached from the world, but to become so securely attached to your own rational nature that you can engage with the world freely without neediness. This is the ultimate self-possession, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are the final judge of your own life, and that your verdict is the only one that counts. Start small, choose one truth that resonated most deeply and live with it for a week. Perhaps it is practicing voluntary discomfort by taking a cold shower, or performing your duty with excellence without mentioning it to anyone. Maybe it is simply asking yourself each night not what people thought of you, but whether you acted with courage and integrity. These small, consistent actions are the chisel strokes that sculpt a free life. The path to Stoic calm is walked one deliberate step at a time. If any part of this journey sparked a recognition within you, we would be honored to hear about it. Share your single biggest takeaway in the comments below, and if you are ready for more guidance, subscribe for ongoing wisdom to navigate life with unshakable confidence.